Hi, my name is Terry Westwell and welcome back to Panic at the Book Club. This week we're discussing A Simple Favour by Darcey Bell. A Simple Favour centres around mum blogger Stephanie as she uncovers the secrets surrounding her best friend's disappearance. So, just a word of warning, if you haven't actually read this book and you're thinking of doing so, I would advise going no further because there will definitely be spoilers. So, I want to start we're discussing how I felt the book was actually written. For a thriller novel, it didn't really have me on the edge of my seat, but I think it was really well paced, and because it wasn't a very long book, I didn't get the feeling that nothing was happening. So I didn't really get long stretches of time where nothing really was happening in the book. So I definitely think it was quite well paced. I really enjoyed the blog element of the book. I think it gave you a different insight, while at the same time, you could never really, because it was quite realistic in that sense of blogger life versus real life, realities. You could never quite tell what was real until you were back in Stephanie's shoes. For example, online, she wanted to come across as someone who would feed her children these veggie burgers because that's what the mums who read her blog want to hear. But in reality, you found that her child would not eat those things. And that's kind of what it's like to be a blogger. You embellish a little bit, and things might not be exactly what it is like in reality. Obviously, they did touch up on this quite a bit when they were discussing how Stephanie's husband died. The way she posted, the way she talked about it, wasn't quite how it happened. Um, I feel like I really suck at contouring. I feel because I'm so pale, it's so much harder to do. Maybe I'm wrong, but I enjoyed being able to step into the shoes of different characters within the book. I think it definitely gave you a different view on the story and a different insight to what was happening. However, it made some of the characters feel a little bit more realistic. It gave you a little bit more of a connection to them, but it also made you realize just how annoying they are, just how like toxic they were, or just how you know bad they were. So, I mean, I suppose that is probably the aim, but I think it just makes you dislike the characters even more than you already do. I think in the whole book, I mean, there were only really three characters, but in the whole book, there wasn't a single likable character. Now, if you start with Stephanie, who is the main character, she really wasn't all that important. Like, she was there to look after the children. She was a bit of a failsafe, but she was a character looking in on the main story rather than her being part of the main story herself, really, which was definitely interesting. The issue was, though, she is so annoying. Despite her whining about how people think mums are dumb and like she wants to like prove them wrong, she is so dumb. She's gullible. She believes everything that she's told, especially by Emily. I'm never saying you shouldn't believe victims when they say it, but she believed Emily when she was talking about the abuse and how it was Sean's fault. It was all Sean's idea. And I just think if you'd have just thought about that for 2 minutes, you'd have been able to see the plot holes. You would have been able to see that she was lying around. She murdered someone and made you help her cover up the body, and yet you believe that her husband is the only dodgy one and that she's innocent in all this. I just think, how gullible are you? Like, she even managed to convince herself that things did or didn't happen. You know, she got the phone call from Emily when she was like teasing her and sort of letting her know that she was alive when she was watching. And she managed to convince herself that didn't happen. I just think if you thought your friend was dead and then they started calling you, I don't know, I think that's something that would weird you out enough to stick with you that you wouldn't just think the next day, maybe I imagined that. So I don't remember just how long it was before Stephanie and Sean started seeing each other. But it really didn't feel like a very long time. The whole book didn't feel like it spanned over a very long time. So just think Stephanie's love life, all of it was just icky. It wasn't romantic. It was just ugh. You know what I mean? Like your friend has just gone missing. I don't know if you just found out she's died. And then pretty quickly starts sleeping with her husband. Yeah, I don't know. If your friend goes missing, how about don't shack up with their husband? Not just that, the whole thing about her husband and her half brother or whatever it was. And it didn't exactly make you like the character more. So, all in all, I really didn't like Stephanie. Just warning out there. If I die and within a week you are sleeping with my husband, and it just so happens to be that I'm not dead, yeah, you should probably expect some sort of repercussion. So the next character would be Sean. Now, I had quite a few problems with Sean. Like, for starter, I feel like his character was just extremely 2D and just didn't make sense. He was just as gullible as Stephanie. He was just as bloody dumb as Stephanie. Yet felt the need to like judge her so harshly. Like, he was sleeping with her, and the second his wife turned up, it was, shut up, Stephanie. All this like narrating all of that, and it's like, really? Like, he's supposed to be on Wall Street, and I just sort of don't picture him as this big, confident Wall Street character. Overall, I just found his character was really boring, not likable, and really isn't a great amount to say about him. So Sean's wife Emily turns around and says, "Whatever it is they say, whatever it is they do, I'm not dead. Don't believe I'm dead." Yeah, almost immediately he believes it. Even after his own son tries to tell him he's not dead, even after Stephanie tries to be like, I think there's something weird going on here, he still believes that she's dead. After everyone's telling him, don't believe she's dead, he still believes she's dead. I don't really understand if he disliked Stephanie so much. If Stephanie was just used to move the story along and cover their backs, I don't understand why he then started sleeping with Stephanie. Like, whether or not it was just out of convenience, because she was looking after his son, or what? Because he clearly didn't like her. Now, something I found super contradictory around Sean is that at one moment he's saying that he was narrating that he is scared of his wife. At the next moment, well, at the end of the book, he states, "I have never been afraid of women until this moment." So, is it A, you're scared of your wife, or is it B, you have never been scared of a woman? It kind of can't be both. So, I just I kind of feel it with all the characters that there were like contradictory moments, and maybe that was done on purpose so that you could never quite truly, when you're in their shoes, you could never quite truly trust what it is they were saying. And if that is the case, accepted, that's a very interesting way to go about it. But I just think in some areas it didn't work. Emily was just a rotten person. It kind of makes sense because from what I read from this book, Emily was very much the villain. None of the characters were good, and all of the characters had flaws, but Emily was the main villain of the story. So it does make sense that you wouldn't like Emily, but she was just rotten. So just one example of just how awful Emily was right from the very start. When Sean and Emily got married, he stole his mother's ring. Now, this is something that really winds me up about Sean, is that when he finds out, he just sort of rolls over and just accepts it. Just is like, oh, okay. And it's like, maybe stick up for yourself, stick up for your family. This is a ring that your mum cherishes, and your wife has just not only stolen it, but has practically rubbed it in that she's stolen it. She's very proud of the fact. So Emily has stolen from her husband's family. She's blackmailed. She had a big part to play in her sister's death. A list of things, faking her own death. She killed a man and then convinced best friend Stephanie to help her hide the body. And then sets her up later on in the book. At the end of the book, she tells the police, I think Stephanie had something to do with it. She's the one that had my ring, and that's why he found it on the crime scene. Even after that, Stephanie's probably still dummy enough to stay loyal to Emily. it was really interesting to see it from Emily's perspective. You could really see the potential there for some mental health issues. The way that she would almost convince herself that things did or didn't happen, like with her sister. The inner argument she had with herself before her sister died, for example, was just, did she convince herself that she did, in fact, want her sister dead? Didn't she? I think she was very torn, and I think it was definitely, I think they described it well when they said demons. It was that sort of conflict that I just feel like a healthy mind wouldn't have. I really liked towards the end of the book when Emily's narrating to herself and she's talking about until he's sufficiently sorry enough for what he did, for what he put me through, making me disappear, fake my death, and for his involvement in my sister's death. I don't, is that a reflection upon what she might even manage to convince herself that he did, or is that, a bit of her own guilt reflecting back? She has to have somebody else to blame as well for what happened with her sister. So overall, I actually really enjoyed the book. I mean, at the end, with how the storyline went, it did kind of get me thinking, what was the point in all that? But overall, I really did enjoy the book. I hated the characters. Um, what I kind of think you were supposed to. I really liked how they ended the book with Emily, abandoning ship, taking her son along with her after throwing everybody else under the bus. Although it got you curious as to what happened next, I think it was a very Emily appropriate way to end the book. But let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy the book? Let me know. So next week we'll be reading The Girls I've Been by Tess Sharpe. Don't forget to comment and let me know what your thoughts were on that book by Monday the 15th, the latest. And the week after that, we'll be reading Blood Orange by Harriet Tyce. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.